Okay, awesome. Thank you. Hello and welcome, everyone. Thanks so much for being here. My name is Elsa Young. I'm with United Way of King County, and I'm joined by Toby Solomon Ogier from Family Works Food Bank. And we're located in Seattle, Washington. And we're here to talk to you today about two different programs that are using technology to decrease barriers to access in the emergency food system here in King County. So like I said, my name is Elsa. I'm with United Way of King County, and Toby's here as well from Family Works Food Bank. I should also say before we get started, we're going to have some time at the end to answer questions. So if you have questions that come up during the presentation, feel free to put them in the Q&A tab or the chat tab, and we'll make sure to get to them at the end. So I'm going to kick us off by starting with our first of two programs that we're going to be talking about today. And this program is United Way of King County's home grocery delivery program. So this program began in 2020 in response to the pandemic. And what we were seeing at this time, like many of you all who are joining us likely saw as well, was that there was a huge spike or uptick in the number of households that were needing food bank services due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And also at the same time, there were lots of new barriers to accessing the food bank in person. Not that those barriers didn't exist before the pandemic, but the pandemic really exacerbated them. And so what we did was we created a centralized intake process, which I'll get into a little bit more in a bit. But basically, this is a single online form that households who are in need of a food bank grocery delivery could go to this form, could sign up with their information. And then what we did at United Way is we took this data to our food bank partners, and we said, hey, we have X number of households that are residing within your food bank's service area that have indicated that they really need a grocery home delivery. Would you be willing to partner with us to make that happen? And we've been really fortunate over the last several years to have incredible food bank partners. We've had about 30 local food banks and pantries agree to partner with us on this project and really step up to make home grocery delivery an integral part of the services that they provide. To actually complete these deliveries, we partner with both DoorDash and Amazon. I'm sure many of you have heard about these partnerships before. They happen, across the country, but basically both of these tech companies have programs where they partner with nonprofits to offer delivery services from food banks to households in need. So what we're able to do is we're able to upload orders to both the DoorDash and the Amazon platforms. Those platforms then take those households, batch them into a delivery route, and then dispatch their drivers to the food bank to pick up food for whatever route they've been assigned, and then they deliver the food one by one, household to household. So both DoorDash and Amazon complete deliveries for us, and they've been really great partners. I'm happy to connect with any of you all more after this presentation to talk more about what those partnerships look like and the pros and cons of each. But both have been really great partners that have allowed us to scale this program to, at its height, we were serving almost 6,000 households per week. So really large program that would not be possible without their partnership. But mostly what I want to talk about today is the different forms of technology that have allowed us to scale this program and make it a really large countywide program with a fairly slim team. So the first step of that is our centralized intake model. Like I was saying before, this is a single form that we created. It's an online form that any household in King County that has a need for grocery home delivery isn't able to visit their local food bank in person. They can fill out this form. It collects information like the household name, obviously their delivery address, any delivery instructions. We also collect some information on their dietary needs or food preferences, as well as different demographic information that food banks may need for their reporting preferences. But one thing that we really stress with this intake form is we try and make it as low barrier as possible, which means that we don't require a lot of information on this form. Clients can clients can fill it out as they want to or feel comfortable, but we don't require a ton of information beyond what is required for the delivery. And then, so once a household fills out that form, that information gets put into our central database. And we use a database and client management software called Apricot Social Solutions. And I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. But this has been a really incredible tool that has allowed us to streamline our sort of back-end processes to make this program work really well at a large scale. So we've programmed our database so that when a household fills out that form, the database will match that household with whichever food bank partner of ours is best matched to meet that household's need, primarily based on location. So all of our food bank partners have a specific service area, whether that's zip codes or sort of geographic neighborhood, that they try and keep the clients that they serve within that area. And so the database will match a household to the food bank based on that geographic preference. And then there's also some personalization we can do around food preferences or different specific household needs as needed. And what this program does, and what's really cool about it, is that it decreases the burden on households to have to go out and seek multiple different programs. So rather than a household having to go out into their community and find all the different food banks around them, and whether those food banks have a home delivery program, and whether those home delivery programs have capacity or space for their household, instead of having to do all that research, all they have to do is go online, fill out our form, and we will make sure that they get matched with the closest delivery service that has space for them as soon as possible. It also decreases the administrative burden on food banks, because food banks don't need to be worrying about doing any of this client intake. We handle all of that for them. So now I'm going to show you a little bit about what the backend looks like. So this is sort of our homepage on Apricot Social Solutions. And I should preface this by saying that before we were using this system for our home delivery program, we were using an Excel spreadsheet. And that actually worked really well for our program until it started growing beyond about 2,000 households a week that we were serving. So while this program is really nice, you definitely don't need this program in order to run a countywide home delivery program like this. We made it work with just Excel for quite a while. But this program is really cool. This is kind of what our homepage looks like. And each of these blue bars is one of our different food bank partners. And you can expand that sort of bucket to see within each food bank how many households you're serving. So for example, with Bird Bar Place, which is one of our food bank partners, you can see that we have 48 households that are actively being served with home delivery by this food bank. We also have 34 households that have opted out of the program over the past several years. We can also place households on pause if they're out of town for a couple weeks or they just don't need food for a couple weeks. We can pause their service. And then this none bucket is the households that have filled out the form and the database has matched them to this particular food bank, but they haven't been added to the active delivery route yet. So this none group is sort of like our wait list for that particular food bank. So this homepage is a really great way where we can kind of see at a glance all of the food banks, their capacity, where they're at in terms of wait list, et cetera. And then this is what you would see if you actually clicked into an individual client's profile. Obviously, it doesn't show any identifying information, but I wanted to just showcase a little bit of the information that we save for each household that allows us to automate this system and make it really quick and easy for us to schedule such a large number of orders. So for each household, you can see that they've been assigned to a particular food bank. So this food bank has been assigned to the Pike Market Food Bank, and that's primarily based off of their zip code that they provide when they sign up. That said, if the household has specific dietary needs that we think would be better served by a different food bank, et cetera, our team can go in and override this assignment and assign them to whatever food bank we think would be more appropriate. But based on the food bank that they get assigned, all of their pickup and delivery information auto-populates in their file. So Pike Market Food Bank, for example, has decided that Fridays are their home grocery delivery days. So when a client is assigned to Pike Market Food Bank, their delivery day auto-populates as Friday. Their pickup window auto-populates to 1 to 2 p.m., which is what the food bank has told us is the time that they want delivery drivers to come through. It auto-populates that this household will be receiving a food delivery each week. Most of our food partners do deliveries each week. Some do every other week, and so we can also automate that into the system. So what this allows us to do is it then allows us to build reports in the database so we can download to an Excel spreadsheet all of the households that would be getting a delivery on Fridays, for example. So any household that's tagged as a Friday delivery, we can program the database to download all of those households' information into a spreadsheet. And we've actually programmed those spreadsheets to download in the exact format that we need to upload to the DoorDash platform or the Amazon platform in order to schedule those deliveries. So this is a screenshot of what that looks like, right? So this is a sample report that we've downloaded from our database. This is all of the orders for this upcoming Friday. And so it pulls the food bank that they're scheduled for, it pulls the date, the start time, all of the client information, address, delivery instructions, etc. So this makes it really easy to just in the span of a couple clicks, download all of the client information for all the deliveries on a particular day, upload them to the DoorDash or Amazon platform, and within a couple minutes, you can have scheduled several hundred orders. So it's a really powerful and streamlined tool that we have used to be able to scale this program. So that's a little bit about our database and how we use it. But next I want to talk about the client communications that we do. So another thing that's unique about our program is that United Way manages all of the communications for these home delivery clients. So rather than having each of our individual food bank partners send delivery reminders or field questions from the households that they serve, we route all of those communications through our team at United Way. And this simplifies things for the food bank because they're not doing the client intake as I talked about previously. And they're also not responsible for the communications. And so really all we're asking our food partners to do, I shouldn't say all because it's still a big task, but they pack the food for the households that they are assigned and they help load the food into the delivery drivers' cars when they show up. But all of the client intake and the communications is housed within our team at United Way. So the way that we do this is all households receive a reminder about 3 days in advance of their delivery. And this reminder gives people the option to confirm their delivery. It gives them the option to skip if they're out of town or they don't need a delivery this week. And it gives them the option to opt out of the program entirely if they don't need the service anymore. When households sign up with us through that intake form, we ask them to choose their preferred method of communication. So some folks who really prefer email, or some folks really prefer email, some text, some phone call, right? And we use different tools to communicate with different households depending on what they've indicated. So for email folks, we use Mail Merge, which is just a tool that's integrated into Microsoft Word, where you can send mass emails that are personalized with the household's information, both their name and their delivery address, so they can verify that it's correct. So we use Mail Merge to do just large-scale email communications. For those that prefer text, we use a tool called Care Message, which I'll talk more about in a second. And then we also have a Google Voice phone line for client support. So we have a phone number for the program that we share really broadly with the households that we serve, and they know that they can call that phone number anytime they have a question or an issue with their delivery. They call us there and we can troubleshoot. And all of these platforms we have monitored by AmeriCorps members on our team. And so we do have, I want to say 3 AmeriCorps members that monitor all these different communication channels and make sure that all questions are getting answered and responded to promptly. So I want to talk a little bit about the text message platform that we use, because when we first started this program for the first year and a half or so, we were exclusively communicating with the households that we serve via email. And that worked fairly well. But as soon as we started incorporating text messaging, we realized that clients were engaging much more readily with us. I think the reality is that most people don't check their email that often. And when you're communicating about a delivery that's time sensitive, sometimes things get missed. And so text messaging has been really, really helpful to get the word out about things quickly and get quick responses from folks as well. So this is what the care message platform looks like. We'll send folks a text message, like I said, a couple days ahead of their delivery. You can read the message there. It says, essentially, this is a reminder that you're scheduled to receive a delivery next Monday. And then it gives folks the option to respond with a letter. So A, confirm my delivery, B, skip my next delivery, C, opt out. We also give them the option to update their delivery information if people have moved or their email address has changed or something like that. And then also an option to contact our team directly if they have a more specific question. And then for each of these responses, we've built out a text response that they get that gives them more information. So for example, if they respond and say they want to contact our team directly, the automated text they get in response will have our team's email and phone number for them to call or email. Another cool thing about Care Message is that it has a lot of language capabilities. So you can see on the left, we have translated this message into 6 different languages. And this is based on the languages that the households we serve have indicated as their primary languages. Care Message, I don't think, has translation services built into the platform outside of Spanish. So you do have to provide your own translations. But for a text like this, we're sending the same text every week. So we used a translation service to translate the form text, and then we have those on file and we can use those to send out to folks as needed. Another thing that we use Care Message for is to do some personalization in the deliveries. Some of the main feedback we get from our home delivery clients is that they really want to be able to customize what items they're receiving in their delivery. Which can be tricky to do with deliveries. But one way that we've found to get at that customization a little bit more is to offer different box types and then give households the choice of which box type they would like to receive each week. So this food bank, for example, has different box types that are aimed at different cultural cuisines. And then the way that we schedule it to keep things straight is that each box type has a different pickup hour. So maybe from 2 to 3 p.m., all of the households that are receiving the Asian Pacific Islander box, all those boxes get picked up from 2 to 3 p.m. And then from 3 to 4 p.m., all of the boxes are the halal box or whatever it may be. So that streamlines things a little bit on the food bank side so that they're not trying to figure out which delivery driver gets how many of each box type all the time. But the way we use Care Message for this is we send all the households this text message a couple days in advance. They're able to choose, A through E, which box type they would prefer for that week. And then Care Message makes it really easy to download all of those responses to an Excel spreadsheet, which we can then upload to our client database, Apricot. And all of that data syncs with the data that we already have for each household. And then when we submit our scheduling request to DoorDash or to Amazon, that information is already synced and has been, auto-populated in our client database. So that is one way that we've built in some customization into our home delivery work. Although there's lots of room for improvement still on this. This feels a little bit like solving a problem with kind of a blunt tool, and we wish that we had a sharper or more specific tool to really allow households to choose exactly which items go into their boxes. So that's where we're going to talk a little bit about our next program. I'm going to pass it off to Toby at FamilyWorks, where they're doing some really cool work to get at that more fine-tuned customization through a text message platform. So I'll pass it over to Toby.
Thanks, Elsa. As she said, my name is Toby. I'm with FamilyWorks Food Bank. And I'm excited to talk with you all today about one of our programs called Text2Go, where we are using SMS to essentially allow folks to customize their grocery orders in advance. So we will get into a little bit about how this works. You can see on the right here an example of what the text messages that our participants receive look like. So to sign up for this program, they have to only text the word food to our number, and that automatically puts them into the system to receive a weekly text from us. The only information we collect off the bat is name and then their language preference that they'd like to receive communications in. So to back up a little bit, this program is something that we launched in 2020 is in response to the pandemic, as we were, I'm sure like a lot of you, trying to figure out how to still reach folks and get food out the door while also keeping folks safe. We knew we had a lot of people who were looking for food access, but weren't able to stand in line outside our food bank, and weren't able to show up during our specific hours of operation. So we were looking at a number of grocery stores around us who started launching curbside pickup, and we thought we were able to mimic something similar for our food bank. We wanted to reach folks who, again, weren't able to access us in those traditional means of food bank distribution, and we also wanted to try to cut down on some of those associations that often come along with a food bank and that shame or stigma that a lot of folks feel about turning to their neighborhood food bank. And next slide. Thanks, Elsa. So how it works, our staff send out a weekly text with the menu options. So you can see an example here from last week. Everyone who has registered by texting the word food will get a text that says what we have available, and this rotates every week. We will then ask what items they'd like to remove and what their protein choice is for that week. And then finally, they will select a pickup window when their box will be ready on site. And then on the back end, staff view and receive these orders via Airtable and a Google Sheet, and we will pack the boxes so that they're ready when folks show up at our doors. I wanted to share a few of the successes and challenges with this program. To start out some of the successes, we have been able to reach folks who had never accessed a food bank before. And in particular, I've noticed a lot of people using this program who might sign up for just a couple of weeks. We've heard from folks who lost their job and just really needed to fill a gap before they were able to find something else or transition. And then a few weeks later, they'll let us know, hey, I actually don't really need it anymore, and we'll have moved on. And it's been a great way to really quickly be able to set some folks up who might not want to go through like a lengthier process to get on board with, say, like a delivery or other method of food distribution. It's also let us communicate really quickly with our participants, so we are able to receive their input before they show up at the door, which was particularly important during COVID, but we've found even in the years since that there's a whole number of reasons why it's helpful to be able to have boxes ready to go to cut down on that time that folks are waiting when they show up. And not just for their food orders, but it's also let us send out communications to participants when there's an update or a closure or something else that we need to communicate out quickly. And as Elsa mentioned, we've seen just a lot more engagement with people responding and letting us know maybe something came up that week and they asked us if we can hold their box for them for another couple days, or some folks will just send us updates through the text service, and it's been a really great way to keep that connection going. And lastly, we're really proud of the fact that it's a low barrier service. We don't ask for really any ID or proof of verification when folks show up, and it's a really easy system to get set up with. And given all of that, there's still a number of pieces that we're still working through. We've been in a process with the United Way for the last couple of months of trying to think through what the next generation of this program could look like. We've been dealing with a number of different technical difficulties with some of the tools we've used, and we've also seen a lot of user errors because of that automated text flow setup. So I wanted to mention all that to say that it's not perfect, and it's been a really great learning process for us. We're also weighing what some of the limitations of using SMS are. Obviously, there's some folks who are not cell phone users and aren't super comfortable over text, but it also can really limit the amount of communication we're able to do. Those longer messages just don't carry through. So that has led us to kind of focus in on the elements that we are offering customization on. And then there's some other pieces that folks know. For example, like produce right now is not something that folks are able to customize because we haven't developed a way to be able to offer all the different options and collect that feedback. So that's something that we are currently working on. Next slide. So as I mentioned, as we're thinking about what the next generation of this program looks like, one of the target audiences that we really want to reach are our home delivery clients and all of the folks that are currently receiving DoorDash through our partnership with United Way. We heard from one of them who said, I'd want to be able to order exactly what I want or need from a weekly menu, just like you'd be able to if you were there in person. So that's been one of our kind of guiding principles as we're thinking about how to open this program up to not only just pickup participants, but also all of our delivery folks. So we've been exploring actually a couple of new platforms that might make that customization and choice element even easier, like Smart Choice, and we're in the process of collecting feedback and doing some testing with participants on what those new systems would look like, with a goal of launching by the end of this year. And lastly, I wanted to just share a few takeaways that we have had through this process over the last couple of years. One being the benefit, and Elsa brought this up as well, but just how beneficial one of these text tools can be in order to increase communication with your clients or participants. Secondly, really focusing in on what barriers are that folks are facing when accessing services in your region and kind of centering those as the basis as you're generating solutions or innovations, particularly ones where technology might be able to really help make systems easier to navigate for participants. So in this example with Text2Go, we were starting from a place of trying to figure out how can we cut down on that waiting in line and trying to move folks through more quickly. But we learned through that process that there was a whole lot of other factors. We had a lot of people who wanted to take advantage of this program, but weren't able to get to us on site in person to pick up their box, which is why we're now looking at what delivery would look like as well. And I would just highlight that all of these ideas have really come from conversations with participants about what we can be doing better and trying to keep it centered around the experiences and needs of folks that we are in partnership with learning from. And lastly, this program, when we started out, it started really small. We ran a pilot with it, and I really can't say enough how helpful that was to just start somewhere and then learn from that process and not to wait until we had all the details figured out or even really knew where it would lead, because at this point, about 3 years later, it's changed a lot, and I think will continue to change over the next couple of years. So thank you all. I think at this point, we will turn it over to some Q&A. So if anyone has questions, feel free to throw those in the chat, and we're happy to speak to those. It looks like there's a question here from Samantha. Is Apricot Social working with United Way food banks across the country?
Yeah, thanks for your question, Samantha. I don't know that Apricot has a specific partnership with United Ways or food banks, but that said, they are a client management system that was developed specifically for nonprofit programs. And so we found them really great to work with because they understand, while they work with like a broad array of different nonprofits doing different types of work, they really understand like the needs of nonprofits, and the platform is designed with that in mind. So I don't know that there's a specific partnership necessarily, but it is designed for nonprofits. And then it looks like there's another comment. Would be cool to see these programs in action on college campuses as another micro location. Yeah, Christy, that's a great point. We actually, I don't know about Text to Go, but with the United Ways home delivery program, we did partner with local community colleges for kind of the bulk of the pandemic, and made sure that this program was available to community college students. And we had DoorDash drivers picking up boxes of food from campus pantries and delivering them to students, which was really cool.
So to address Christy's question here, how do clients initially connect with text ordering? So we have done some promotion, mostly just on site, and then through some of our community partners. And we have flyers that instruct folks to text the word food or in a number of different languages to our phone number. And that's gotten distributed more widely. And so we have folks who signed up for the program and have mentioned that they have either like seen it through our website or saw it when they were visiting like a clinic down the street, and just thought they would test it out.
Looks like we have another question from Brittany. Have your pantries had a difficult time keeping enough food stocked to both serve on-site distribution and delivery neighbors? Yes, I would say that is definitely an issue. I think, in King County, we're facing a lot of the issues that food banks nationwide are facing with food shortages and funding shortages, especially coming out of the pandemic. So yes, this does continue to be an issue, but what we've kind of done to combat this is get feedback from the households that are being served by delivery clients, to really capture what the importance of the service is for them and share that with food banks, and have pretty candid conversations with our food bank partners about how important it is to prioritize delivery as a option for the households that they serve. I know a lot of food banks have been eager to return to in-person services, which works really well for some and not as well for others. So yeah, I think, we've been approaching these conversations as candidly as we can, but it is definitely a crunch that we're all feeling.
Yeah, I would definitely echo that. I think this is a kind of a constant area of tension in our food bank, is just figuring out how to make sure that all of our different program areas are covered. And we know at this point, we've been able to break down like the percentage of folks who access our food bank through each program area. So we know home delivery is about 30% of our food bank visits. In-person shopping is another 30%. So we, like when I'm placing orders or when we are seeking new food streams, we try to think about like breaking down incoming deliveries that way, so that we are not like inadvertently prioritizing folks who are able to shop in person, and then making sure we have enough by the end of the week so that the folks who are getting delivery or accessing other programs are still receiving the same quality and quantity that others are. But that's definitely an ongoing issue. And then to address Emery's question, can you share how you went about getting funding to provide this service and any technology that might have fees? I don't know if Elsa, if you have anything to add on that note.
Yeah, I can jump in. I would say for home delivery work in particular, started as a very scrappy program. I think when the pandemic hit, like many food, providers and nonprofits, we were scrambling to figure out what we were going to do and how we were going to respond. And so we really started the program with low cost or no cost technology. So like I mentioned, we started with an Excel spreadsheet as our client database. And that worked for a year plus. We have been using a Google Voice phone line that is free to set up. And so we started the program really with as much free technology as we could. And then, it grew off of that technology and those platforms into a program that was, then big enough and impactful enough to take to funders and say, hey, we have this program happening. It's really cool. It could be a lot bigger and a lot cooler if we had some funding for to cover, the cost of, a more sophisticated client database or whatever it may be. And then, the delivery piece of it, we've been really fortunate to work with DoorDash and Amazon that have been offering, their delivery services at low or no cost as well, which is a huge component of it. So that's what I would say in terms of getting started. And I think Toby probably similarly starting from a pretty scrappy place and then going from there.
Yeah. When we first started this, and I will say that I built out this program with a couple of friends, and they were developers, and I had asked them if they would be willing to donate their time to help us get this program started. So that made a huge difference because we weren't paying for any of the labor associated with that. And then we were also looking for technology platforms that had a low monthly cost as we were looking at what scaling this up would mean. And honestly, that's part of the reason that I'm here with Elsa, is we had approached United Way about funding for this program because there's a lot of alignment in the work that we both were doing. And I would say also, in Washington, we have been able to get some funding through WSDA, which has really helped a lot of our programming and particularly our food procurement efforts.
Well, I think that answers all the questions I'm seeing in the chat, unless folks have other questions that they want to put in quickly.
Yeah, we have about 5 minutes left in the session. So if you have any additional questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or the Q&A tab. In the meantime, Elsa and Toby, if you have any questions that you usually get, feel free to answer them now here. Totally up to you.
Nothing that I can think of, but both of our emails are on the screen. If you have questions that come up, feel free to shoot us an email. I'm also happy to set up a time to meet if you want to talk more in depth about any of this. And we, appreciate all your questions and engagement.
I echo everything else is said. Always happy to chat more about this or some of the other programs we're working on over at FamilyWorks. And appreciate you all being here today.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Toby and Elsa, for sharing with us. Reminder, this will be recorded, so you can always come back to Excel events in the next 30 days to access this presentation, or you can visit the Alliance's YouTube page to access it. Next, we have our closing session and the Hunger Free Communities Award presentation on the main stage. So in just a moment, you should see a prompt for the next session. All you have to do is click join to enter. Thanks so much for coming out today, and enjoy the closing session.
Thanks, everyone.